This new series has presented me with some surprises. The last few movies I reviewed on here have been ones that I admire on some technical or cultural level. I've already found myself reevaluating how I feel about some of the films. It makes me realize that the title of this series is not inaccurate, but that you can love different movies for different reasons and in many different ways. However, while Akira does have a more complex story with some pretty interesting ideas, Ninja Scroll is somewhere very different on the spectrum. It's interesting to me since Ninja Scroll is one of those films, along with Akira, to be part of the wave of the anime boom from the 80s and 90s. Still, while Akira had some very violent imagery, Ninja Scroll had a very different goal, and it doesn't apologize for it. Many of the films and OVAs and rental stores in the 90s were filled with stuff like this. For many people, this is very representative of how much of a contrast there was between Japanese animation and most American stuff. Most of the releases were more like exploitation films than attempts at high art. That's not to say that Ninja Scroll should be dismissed as that, but it really is a pinnacle of sorts of a more mature anime from the 90s. The story is nestled in some Japanese history, with Janae, a wandering ninja, falling into battle against evil with some superpowered ninjas over a hidden treasure to prevent a war. Throw in a romance with the ninja woman and that's pretty much the movie. Don't get me wrong, I think the characters and the general plot are serviceable enough to hold it together and get you pretty invested. Janae is an easygoing and charming man. We see him stick his neck out and we don't want to see him die. Kagero seems conflicted, easily the one with the most going on internally as a character, with the whole struggle over being a woman and her duties as a ninja warrior. There are some good ideas there. Let's face it though, anyone who's here watching Ninja Scroll is here for the violence. Ah yes, the glorious violence and also the boobs and erotic stuff, I suppose? Yeah, Ninja Scroll is violent and better animated than I actually remembered. It really holds up rather well, particularly the detail of the background settings, like the surrounding nature or building structures. The 8 Devils of Kimon are also fun villains, mostly due to their designs and power sets. I always wonder how ninja history of stealth tactics seems to come up as weird superpowers in anime. It's funny how that works. The Shadow Guy and the Bee Guy are probably my favorites. I have no problem with exploitation, as the sex stuff does get tangled with the violence as a means to draw people in. I kind of get that. Despite this though, I feel the handling of Kagero seems problematic and possibly a bit unnecessary. You see, she is sexually assaulted not once but twice. I do think this is balanced out well though by Janae still treating her as a person and not using her body as a means to save himself. This kind of really separates him from the villains of the movie, who have no qualms with treating her like that. It really shows how much respect he has for her as a person, as a human being. While this is pretty cool, I think her being killed just adds insult to injury and her arc doesn't really get to be fully fulfilled. The dub does throw in a line at the end about her being able to feel more like a woman before she died, but that felt incredibly forced to me. I also think the main villain might be the least interesting of the devils, although I do appreciate his ironic death, destroyed by his own greed of course. That seemed pretty fitting. Overall, I think Ninja Scroll is a fun time, if you accept what it's going for. It's a pretty good encapsulation of what really got people's attention with anime in the 90s. You could be sure this wasn't just kids stuff anymore. At least your kids shouldn't be watching it. I know they're technically cartoons, but wait, how old was I when I watched this? Oh no. Oh no.